will be starting soon. Please find your seat. Silence mine. Nei. Yeah. Do you all hear me properly? Okay? Má hækka. Má hækka. Ég ekki nógu hávær. Could you please raise my voice a bit? Artificially? Okay.
Second, we also place great emphasis on waste sorting and citizen engagement. Akureyri was one of the first municipalities in Iceland to implement curbside collection of organic waste, which is now turned into biogas and compost. Through strong partnerships with the local companies, schools and households, we continue to improve recycling rates and reduce landfilling waste. These efforts show how climate action becomes real when communities are empowered to take part. Third, Akureyri has banned landfilling of organic waste and instead produces, as I said before, biogas and compost from household collection systems. These circular solutions reduce emissions and promote resource recovery, aligning with Iceland's national strategy for circular economy. And finally, Akureyri is an active member of the global conveyor of mayors for climate and energy, committing to transparent reporting and measurable climate action. We believe that local effort can and must influence global outcomes. We also integrate climate adaptation into our planning, from strengthening harbor infrastructure to restoring wetlands and planting forests. We understand that the resilience means looking ahead and acting early and not reacting too late. Underlying all of this is one simple truth. Energy transition in rural and isolated areas are not only about technology. They are about people. They are about creating systems that work for communities and with communities. So today, I invite you to listen, to share, and to collaborate. Let us take this opportunity to learn from one another and build new partnerships. Thank you and welcome to Akureyri.
Thank you very much. Sorry. Thank you very much, Ásthildur, for an excellent introduction. Hit the nail on the head, I must say, with the hammer. So let us see here. This is non-respondent. Now it responded. So I just wanted to show you quickly the agenda. We have a short opening session, which Ásthildur has now opened. And then we'll have following two talks from the Icelandic Environment and Energy Agency. First, the director of the agency. Now since, I mean, there have been some changes and they merged into a new and an improved agency, let's put it like that. And followed by Sigurður Philipsson. We will then have a session about learning from best practices and on policy and market forces, sort of addressing certain challenges, mingling towards the end. So, as I was kindly reminded of, I should also use the clicker. So Ásthildur has now spoken. Thank you very much. And I want to invite Gestur Pétursson, the director of the Icelandic Environment and Energy Agency. He could not be here physically today, but he is here both mentally and technically speaking. Let's see. Are you here, Gestur?
I'm totally with you, mentally and physically.
Great. So, welcome. The floor is yours.
Thank you. Just a technical test. And that is like, do you see my slides?
Yes.
Okay. Well, good day, everyone, distinguished guests. My name is Gestur Peterson, and I'm here on the behalf of the Icelandic Environment and Energy Agency to share with you our current policy direction and strategic vision for a sustainable Iceland. In short, our vision and policies are guided by global urgency and also local opportunities. We in Iceland have had the chance to build a society where environmental integrity, economic strength, and human well-being all reinforce each other, still. So the path forward is to further transform our sustainability into something more measurable, actionable, and even more lived than we are doing today. So let me start with giving you an introduction that we are located in a land that is quite much alive. It is a geological heaven for people interested in volcanic eruptions, earthquakes, tectonic plate movements, and ever-changing weather. So on average, I believe we have a volcanic eruption about every 5 years. So if you are 50 years old, then you kind of have experienced about 10 eruptions statistically. So, and also for interest and also for your own safety, if you hear a train coming in Iceland, it's not a train. There are no trains in Iceland. It's most likely an earthquake or a concrete truck coming your way. So, but don't worry, our houses, they are quite strong for quite obvious reasons. Also on our weather is dictated by the Gulf Stream. So in very simple terms, the Gulf Stream is a warm ocean current in the Atlantic coming from the Gulf of Mexico. It affects the weather and natural conditions of the eastern seaboard of the US and Canada and keeps Iceland and northern Scandinavia warm. This weather system is also an excellent natural resource for wind and rain. So on a side note here, what I can share with you is that we have a saying sometimes in Iceland that if the rain is not falling in Iceland, it's falling on Bergen in Norway. So as such, with our geological and weather conditions, Iceland is rich with natural resources for clean and environmentally sustainable energy generation, hydro, geothermal, and wind. So being an island community with a population of about just less than 400,000, it's safe to say that innovation and self-sufficiency is a part of our DNA. And I believe that you will learn this today. And also, since you are also coming from island communities, I think we can share this as fellow islanders. Pretty much in my travels around the world, meeting fellow islanders, you always feel this strong sense of self-sufficiency and innovation, like the jack of all trades. So having said this, I would like to give you a very short background on the Icelandic Environment and Energy Agency. We are now headquartered in Akureyri. And as a part of agency reform, the environment, energy, and climate was merged, starting with the creation of a new ministry. And on a side note, I'm actually attending what is called the Nordic Electricity Market Forum here in Norway. And what was addressed today was that there are long lead times because these issues are actually located in different ministries and different agencies, causing long lead times for finding solutions. So already what I can tell you is that Iceland has taken a step addressing this. So basically, a total of 10 agencies were merged into 3 agencies. So our agency was formally launched 1st of January this year. So effectively, we are just just over 4 months old. So why did we do this? We wanted to have larger agencies focusing on building stronger knowledge and learning organizations with higher efficiencies in communication and finding solutions. We wanted to have stronger and more professional HR framework for growing our people and professionals, and also enabling synergies through increased cross-functional cooperation. And finally, improved community value creation. For example, by locating our offices in the communities where we are addressing the issues, by having a close cooperation and dialogue with our counterparts and stakeholders in the communities. So basically, with this framework and the support from our government, support from our Minister of Environment, Climate and Energy, Mr. Jóhann Páll Jóhannsson, and support from all stakeholders ranging from NGOs, general public, industries, and also our international cooperation platforms, our good people and professionals of the agency, we are destined to be a part of an exciting and challenging journey which is ahead of us. So let's take a look at our long-term vision and the targets. So basically, we have milestones. And the first milestone is 2030, which is less than 5 years away. There we are aiming to meet and exceed our obligations under the ESR framework, which basically focuses on sectors that are traditionally harder to decarbonize, like Ásthildur was mentioning, waste, so transportation, agriculture, construction, etc. So these are basically the sectors that are mostly intertwined with our daily lives, but also solutions here need to be both technical and behavioral. Because how on earth do you make people change taking out the trash? So that's by having a value proposition like Ásthildur was mentioning, that we are doing something good for you and you can do something good back for your community. And usually this is not a problem dealing with people of Iceland. Then by 2040, we are committed to achieve carbon neutrality as a nation. Basically, we are only 1 out of 4 nations to have had the courage to do so. Most other nations are in 2045, 50 or 60. So this means that we are quite ambitious. I think we were inspired by JFK. He didn't just look at the moon and said, this is too far. He said, we are going there and it's going to happen within the decade. So it only took 8 years there. So we believe that we can achieve this. And we also believe that by setting measurable and very, I would say, ambitious goals will take us further than setting just practical goals. So basically achieving this goal requires innovation, policy alignment, and also public buy-in. And then by 2050, we want to be entirely independent of fossil fuels. So this includes phasing out fossil fuel transport, heating systems, industrial processes, and even aviation. So the implications for this are profound. Energy will be clean, it will be renewable, and primarily coming from geothermal and hydropower, but increasingly also from wind and other sources. So for example, in your information, we will be having the first phase of our first wind park in Iceland coming operational in the year of 2026. So, however, these targets only make sense in the broader context of 3 parallel commitments by the Icelandic government. And that is at the same time, while we are fulfilling these targets in our vision, that we are conserving the environment to ensure that Iceland remains rich in biodiversity and natural beauty. We are focusing on economic sustainability to ensure that our policies reinforce our competitiveness as a nation and prosperity as people. And most importantly, enhancing the quality of life so people can live better, healthier, and more secure as a result of this transformation. So it's not an easy journey that we are going on. And I believe nobody has achieved this journey yet as a nation. So we are going into an uncharted territory together, not just within Iceland, but also with our counterparts abroad. So what are our opportunities and challenges on this journey? Every transition carries both opportunities and challenges. So this is no exception. So let's first talk about megatrends. Around the world, we have large forces shaping our future. Urbanization. Just to give you a quick insight on Iceland, even though we are defined as a remote nation by default, we are highly urbanized. Over 80% of the population here in Iceland is living within a 60-minute drive from the downtown center of Reykjavik. We also are having megatrends in the form of technical disruption. We have an aging population, and then there is a growing impact of climate change. So these trends, they can either accelerate our path forward or derail it if we are not prepared and if we are not professional in our approach. So just to give you an example, on the opportunity side, the pace of innovation is incredibly encouraging. And just to give you some background, because I come from industry into this job, and there I can actually tell you the speed of innovation for sustainable technologies is unbelievable. And also the mindset and the positive attitude of industry has totally transformed since I first joined industry in 2000, around about that time. So basically, we are seeing breakthroughs in clean energy storage. We are seeing breakthroughs in carbon capture, renewable feedstock production, artificial intelligence, material science developments, and also the cost of renewable energy is improving. So Iceland, with its clean energy, is in a unique position to pilot those technologies at a scale. And we are also ready and willing. But there is always a but, isn't it? We need to acknowledge the challenges. We cannot be, I would say, derailed with an optimism bias. So much of our infrastructure wasn't built with the future climate conditions in mind, and also future technologies. And also many of our behaviors, daily behaviors, and reliance on cars, consumption patterns are hard to shift. So a technical change is always easier than a cultural change. But within an island community, it's much easier usually to actually have a common ground to discuss what are the costs and what are the benefits for us if we want to change. Much easier than, for example, larger nations. So that is an upside for us dealing with this challenge. So then, I would like to focus on the heart of this slide, and that is the concept of true sustainability. We often hear the word sustainability, but what does it really mean? Too often, it is reduced to just environmental production. But true sustainability means building systems and solutions that are ecologically resilient, socially just, and economically sound. So in short, true sustainability is present when these three interconnected systems work in harmony. The environmental sustainability, when we are ensuring that we don't consume natural resources faster than they can regenerate, for example, like our fishing industry, our controls there. Economic sustainability basically means that we have policies that support competitiveness of the nation, innovation, and long-term viability. And then last but not least, community sustainability, to ensure that our people have access to opportunities like new jobs, new knowledge, and people feel secure. And participate meaningfully in shaping the future. So many policies, and this is something that we need to watch out for. Many policies only strengthen one of these pillars, but the best policies of all strengthen all three simultaneously. And this is what we must strive for in our innovation approach, in our policy approach, in our communication approach, etc. So, for example, expanding renewable energy doesn't just reduce emissions, it creates jobs. It improves energy security and lower household costs over time. Protecting wetlands isn't just about biodiversity. It prevents flooding, it purifies water, and supports local livelihoods. So when we have these three elements, environment, community, and economics, all tied in together, we are having a stool of three legs. So if one is missing or weak, the entire system becomes unstable. So true sustainability only exists when all three support each other. So this is not just a moral framework, it is a strategic framework. So a purely ecological approach that ignores people or jobs will not last. An economic plan that overlooks the environment will collapse. And also a community vision without economic viability will not scale and will not survive the test of time. So what are we doing? We're not just making up new agencies or new ministries. We are doing something about it. So to bring our vision into practice, our Minister for Environment, Energy and Climate, Mr. Jóhann Páll Jóhannsson, he has introduced several key policies and strategic efforts, which I have summarized as follows. So first, we are accelerating renewable energy projects. So in the past, development has often stalled due to legal problems, administrative delays. And today we are reforming those systems to provide clear timelines, stronger accountability, and public transparency so that clean energy projects can move forward swiftly but responsibly without giving any discounts towards environmental performance. And that is very important. Second, we are conducting a reform of the master plan for nature protection and energy utilization. Today, this plan governs how we balance development with conservation. And the reform is now taking place and taking factors into account like environmental assessments, climate adaptation, security of supply for energy, energy system resilience, strengthening of local voices in the decision-making process, and targets for energy production to meet future demand. And the last one is basically something that has been missing in the previous plans. Thirdly, we are updating our national climate strategies to reflect current scientific understanding and economic dynamics. The industry has responded quite positively and put out their plans to support the journey. So basically, the reform that we are working with is to review carbon pricing mechanisms, public sector climate targets, carbon capture opportunities, and much more. And lastly, but not least, it is our global reputation. Iceland Clean Image is not just about pride. It is an economic asset. It supports tourism, it attracts foreign investment, and strengthens our role as an international partner in cooperation. So if we want to remain a trusted voice for true sustainability, sustainability is not a fixed destination. It is a path that we need to walk deliberately. It is a journey guided by science, values, and shared purpose. And being an island community, we are clearly at an advantage for that. So basically what I've discussed today are steps on that path. But success depends on more than government. It requires collaboration across borders, across sectors, from industry to academia to communities and individuals. And if we get this right, sorry, let me correct. When we get this right, Iceland won't just survive the challenges ahead, we will thrive. We will live in a society where the economy is green, the environment is protected, and people's quality of lives are exceptional, regardless whether you live in a city or a remote area. So for us, in the regulatory industry and also with the public, it's no question in my mind, let's commit, not just to the targets, but to the transformation. So to build systems, institutions, and culture that is truly sustainable in every sense of the word. So thank you very much, and I really look forward to our continued collaboration. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Gestur, for being here with us online. Let's continue. I will hand now the microphone or ask maybe somebody to come and grab my spot here. Sigurður Friðleifsson. Let me see if we can. Yeah. Thank you very much, Gestur. We'll see you around here in person. Sigurður Friðleifsson, I want to introduce you to come and take over here. Let's see. Yeah.
Okay. Maybe I will move a little bit around. My name is Sigurður Ingi Friðleifsson, and I work at the same agency as Gestur. And I'm going to talk a little bit about this and that. Otto said that I reduced my time, so I will be very fast and skip some slides just for him. This is all about solutions. And the thing is that solutions are not just on and off button. It's a path from like R&D to the end as a sustainable market solution. And the different solutions are not on the same scale. For example, for us, the two biggest sectors are road transport and then fishing vessels. For the fishing vessels, we are here, on this end. But regarding road transport, like private cars, electric cars, e-bikes, and electric buses, we are here. This is a new zone called no-brainer. But sadly, people sometimes think that we are still in some kind of innovation steps, but it's market solutions. Next year, there will be 100 million electric cars on the road in the world. So it's not some kind of niche package. If you go back, because I've been in this for too long. I've been working on this for 20 years now. And when we started, we were very optimistic. You can see now when you look back, wow, how optimistic we were. Because, I mean, the hurdles were huge. We were trying to get people to go, for example, to switch to electric cars. There was almost no selections, 2 or 3 cars available. The price was double, triple than the similar petrol car. The range in a good day was 100 kilometers. And there was no infrastructure. And we were trying to get people on board. this is all gone now. In 10 to 15 years, all gone. For example, if we look at the first kind of EVs that were, let's say, mass-produced, they cost, this is in Icelandic kroner, they cost at that time 4.5 million, and now a similar car costs the same. So nothing happened. But of course, we have the inflation, the good old Icelandic inflation. So when we take that into account, you see there's a huge difference in price, huge price reduction. But on the other hand, this car had 24 kilowatt-hour battery. When we started, we didn't know how long that would last. I remember when we were trying to get people to buy this, they say, oh, every 4 years you have to buy extremely expensive battery. And we said, hope not. And that didn't happen. I think 90% of those cars that were bought in 2012 that have not like run into the sea or something, they are still operating today. But similar car today has 60 kilowatt hours. So the real change is here. The price per battery unit has gone from 283 kroners to 77 kroners. So that's the huge difference. The best part, it's the development is even faster now, both in price reduction and energy density and etc. So it's not that we are on the end side, it's still going on. So it is truly a no-brainer today. When we started, I don't remember when it was, with my friend Jón Björn, we were trying to put up the first fast charging station. It was that 10 years ago or something.
A little bit more?
Yes, we were much younger and more beautiful. But today, it's hard to claim that there's no infrastructure. How I'm going to charge? Like Esther said, for the first, people only live here. But Icelanders, they want to know that I can go on my electric car to this place, even though they will never do it. It's very important. So we had to build up a fast charging station network that is suitable, and there's no gaps because people want to have the stream of traveling around. That means, of course, we have to put up some fast charging stations that are not quite sustainable because the charging time is quite rare. So that's why we put a lot of governmental money into this. But this is the situation. This is just the fast charging station, just the fast charging station. And this is when we were beginning, it was only 50 kilowatt hours. Now it's 150, 250, 400 kilowatt fast charging stations. So now we are at the place that there is, with one exception, here, the maximum distance between fasting stations are less than 100 kilometers. And with today's electric cars, it's no issue. So you're never on the road that is more far from a fast charging station than 100 kilometers. So I would say the infrastructure is there. It's no problem. What we are doing is very simple. We are moving the road transport to this system. Sustainable local domestic production with secure distribution and maximum efficiency. Don't forget about that. We are moving away from unsustainable foreign production with very insecure distribution and terrible efficiency. So if we were aliens and coming down to Earth and could choose between these two systems, nobody would choose that. Nobody. But still, we are hanging on too long on this old-fashioned system. The plan, simplified, the steps has been as follows. We have 3 phases of, you could say, subsidies or implementation. With the CO2 import tax on vehicles, then the famous VAT exceptions, and no road tax for EVs. So we had to do it because they were extremely expensive and no infrastructure. So we had to put some carrot out there. The second phase was that we took out the VAT exceptions and put in direct purchase support that we are slowly taking down. And we have a new road tax system, so EVs are paying the same amount for the usage of the roads. And soon, after 2 or 3 years, we will head to the final phase where we only have CO2 import tax on vehicles. And this is extremely good tool if you can do it in your country because the transition, whether you like it or not, comes through the system as new vehicles. So actually, if you would ban brand new petrol diesel car today, the effects would be 0. Nothing would happen. You can still drive your old car, and you only have to choose electric car if you are buying a brand new car. And we have all the cars available. One Chinese company can produce all the cars in Iceland, and I mean buses and private cars, in 10 days. And we are talking about a huge problem. It's no problem, it's only in our head. And talking about subsidies, we are always trying to say it's not subsidies, it's investment. It's not the problem with EVs, it's, you could say, it makes it a little bit complicated that now, for the consumer, it's cost savings by far. It's the cheapest kilometer you can get. That's on an electric car. That's it. Don't have to discuss it anymore. And that's good enough for the consumer, you would say. But the problem, not the problem, the complicated thing is that there's so much community benefits from electric cars. And we are simply saying, if we want to speed up the transition, you can keep up the subsidies in a way, or raise the import tax, because you want to get these community benefits. The consumer, it's not his responsibility to reduce the health damaging pollution or improve the utilization of the electricity system. And I was going to explain the benefits on the electrical grid, but Otto says I cannot do it. But as you can see, it's huge. Sorry about that. Another example, because that's relevant now, and maybe we should focus on it while it lasts. That's energy security. And people are willing to put money in energy security. The problem is that we kind of don't have the mechanism to just put that in dollars or kroner. This is a barrel of oil. It's 159 liters, as you all know. This is the effect of the energy transition in cars in Iceland so far. Should you give them time to count?
Yes.
Or I can give you the number. This is 800 barrels per day. If we would not have the electric cars, the hydrogen cars, the biogas cars that we have today, we would have to import 800 barrels more per day. That's 1 liter per household per day. It's easy to say, do you want to go back? Do you want to sell out those poor electric vehicles and increase the import these days? No, nobody wants that. But we haven't figured out how to pay for that. So that's the reason we should put money to speed up the transition. And we are also trying to do it like with happy tools, you can say. We're trying to create this reward for our governmental institutes so they can speed up the transition in their fleets. This is in Icelandic, doesn't matter, you understand it. So when you're at 30%, you get bronze, and you will go all the way to platinum when your fleet is 100%. We don't hope. All the institutions and companies owned by the state should be there before 2030, to make an example. This is something we want to then to move to the municipalities, and then etc. to all the companies. But now I want to go a little bit back to history, because I'm going to talk about courage and the speed of transition. This is one of my favorite pictures, 2 pictures. You can see it's 13 years between those pictures. On this picture, you can see horses, and if you can see it from the back, there's one car here. 13 years later, you can see one horse. That was the speed. Then, guess because they didn't have Facebook then. It's my theory. The same, the forgotten transition that we did from horses to cars in Iceland was even more amazing. Because I always think about when they were trying to introduce the cars as a solution compared to the mighty Icelandic horse. I want to go back in time and see how they made that presentation. So, we are not going to move anymore on these things. We're going to use cars. Ooh, okay. We have no roads. We have no infrastructure. We have nothing. We don't even have money to buy these cars. You still want to go the pathway. This was the perfect solution. Icelandic horse can go everywhere. You don't need any road. Just take it and go wherever you want. And there's a petrol station everywhere. When you are tired and the horse needs more petrol or fuel, just go off and just have some energy wherever. And we decided to go by cars instead. Build up everything, roads, fuel station, everything. It's also a story because I think people love and still love the Icelandic horse, of course. How can you not? The same thing is happening today. People love their diesel cars. Yes, okay. But the thing is, the Icelandic horse didn't die out. It's still there. It's even more beautiful than ever. So don't worry. We will have these special days or special places in the future where you can turn up your old diesel car or something and drive around. Because Gestur was talking about the moon. I also want to talk about the courage regarding that, also on a personal level. Because this was an amazing step that we took on the moon. The thing is that this guy is the guy who took the first step, and I don't know if everybody knows that he made this step because he practiced in Iceland. Because Iceland was chosen as the place that was most similar to the moon. Because it was not a technical problem to go to the moon, he was just afraid to take the step. The thing is, this guy is my grandfather. So in my family, we always say that because of this maximum training by my grandfather, they were able to be courage enough to take the first step. So, keeping it within the family, this is my other this is a great-grandfather, not the same guy. He had also the courage to make a change. He was the first guy who went from this town to next town, Dalvík, what's that, 45 kilometers or something, on a motorboat. Extremely courage. So he's a pioneer. And we have this statue on the other town. This is about that amazing event. I realized that actually my family put this statue up, not the municipality, but whatever. The funny thing is that when you connect it to the rings problem that somebody claimed for the electric cars, they actually ran out of oil on the way. So they couldn't do this in a one trip. They had to stop on the way to get more oil. That's me. And some years later, I made the first trip from this town to that town in an electric car. We are still working on the statue. The municipality is hesitating, I don't know why, but let's see. So it's all about courage. I always like this picture as well. This is from Reykjavik, and then it's from the first energy transition, when we stopped using oil in Reykjavik and decided to use domestic heating from geothermal. I like this picture because we want to get in that mindset. They found the geothermal well maybe 20 kilometers away from the first house they were going to connect. They didn't have Excel. They just thought, how are we going to transfer that water to Reykjavik? And if you think infrastructure is a problem today, we have to remind us that the people before us, they were doing this in the energy transition. I mean, if a guy from some engineering company would come and say, I think we have a little bit of infrastructure problem. But let's see. And definitely it didn't calculate the total cost. But still today, we are the cheapest source of energy for heating in the world. So, the next example from my municipality, talking about courage. This is Grund, and the farmer there had the second car in Iceland. And why is that important story? This is the car. It's because the courage. He bought this car. There was only one problem with the car. Not the car. The car worked. That there was not a single meter of road when he decided to buy this car. And people are hesitating to buy an electric car today because it doesn't have a 2,000 kilometer range or whatever. Okay, I will finish it now with this thing. Let's move on much more quicker than we have done. And I say 90%. Why do I say 90%? This is a trick that we are now using because we are always arguing with the extreme technical cases or the extreme people. We are going to move on. Let's just ignore those 10% and just move on. I bought this new toy that I will take with me. We are always dealing with this guy. Stop arguing with them because they are not going to change their mind. But I think 90% of the population can and will. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Sigurður Friðleifsson, and thank you for sharing the burden of the moderator with me. Next in line, so we want to listen to a few success stories. And first of all, I want to invite Alexis Chasimbiros from the Samsø Energy Academy. He's going to tell us about a renewable energy success story. Thank you. Yes, should work. Okay,
Very good.
Yes. And please try to talk into the mic.
Okay.
If possible.
Yeah, that's okay. Thank you very much for inviting Samsø to the Akureyri Energy Seminar. It's a very beautiful place. It's my first time in Akureyri, not the first time in Iceland, but I hadn't been in the capital of the north so far. So thank you. My name is Alexis Chasimbiros. Originally I'm from Greece, and for 8 years now I work at the Samsø Energy Academy in Denmark. Samsø is an island right in the middle of Denmark with a population of 4,000 people. And it became quite famous in 2007 because when it converted all the energy system into renewable energy. So all the electricity is produced by 11 wind turbines on land. All the heating is produced more or less by local biomass. And all at the time that it was transport is being compensated by an offshore wind park. This was made on a master plan. We talked about plans and energy planning earlier. So this described how this could be done on paper. And how much energy, how much infrastructure, how much capacity you need in different things to substitute what you have today. But this was the reality on the ground. So people around a campfire, which was what they knew, their island community, their everyday life, their livelihood, they knew nothing about renewable energy, and the energy transition didn't concern them at all. So there was this huge gap. How do we translate? We talk about goals at European level, at national level, at regional level, like an example, the EU Green Deal, but the reality on the ground is very, very different. And this has to be translated into something that people can understand and accept. Otherwise, no project can be actually implemented. And we heard it earlier about plans that just remain plans forever, and they're never realized. So I would like to talk to you a little bit about how we did it. So the clean energy transition, we talk about clean energy transition, and very often we ask, how do we do it? The answer, obviously, okay, we need some renewable energy. And then the next question is where? What do we have? Sun, wind, okay. Where is windy? Where is sunny? Let's put it there, okay, fine. And then we have decided almost everything and go to a meeting and say to the people, come work with us. We want you to be involved. And then that's really a reality check. Because this is where we realize that not everybody agrees that this idea was good. And the main reason why is that they don't understand why it's good for them. So this is a wrong approach. And what is missing in this approach is to ask why. So why is not about the energy transition, is why change. So any transition is about change, and people don't like change. We like we know what we have, we like it, and we don't know what we will get. It is uncertain, it is the unknown, and we definitely don't like it. So there is an embedded conservatism in human nature that we need to work with. So why change? Why change what we have today? And after we talk about that, is everything perfect in our local community? Probably not. Is everything very cheap? Probably not. Is everything, the energy security so high that we can be very happy about switching the lights and having electricity all the time? Probably not. So there are things that doesn't work as well as they could. Is there enough jobs is there local development? Is there enough jobs? Is the school, does the school have enough kids? Are people leaving the area and never come back? So these are real problems that people know, and they know that a change could be towards a good direction. So what we did on SAMSO is to use the clean energy transition to solve some of these problems. So we discussed a lot with people about why they should accept change. And when this discussion was not over, but when the topic was discussed enough, then we talk about, okay, what could be that change that would solve the problem, or solve all the problems, and make SAMSO a better place to live in. And after discussing what, then we discuss who should be involved, who will be involved in that what, and then where, and only at the very, very end how. How is about technology very often, and technology is divisive. It's never, should never be the starting point. So some, for example, of a wind turbine, it could be anything. These were some of the early considerations that we had. Will anybody invest in it? Who is going to own it? Who will take the profit? Who will take the risk? What is the impact on the local environment? And by that I mean the landscape. And what's in it for me at the end of the day? So this bottom-up approach, people participated in this process. And we say that our positioning of the chairs determines the functioning of society. Very often, this is one of the tools we use. We sit in a circle. In a circle, everybody has the same distance from the center, which is the common interest. And there's not any active speaker and passive audience or the expert who is talking to the public meeting. And everybody, sometimes we ask them to forget their official role and just speak in the meeting with the role of the citizen. The results is this. It was very important to talk about where not to plan wind turbines and where not to change the landscape. We talked a little bit earlier about spatial planning, which was a very important exercise. And I think in rural areas, I mean, cities grow more and more and more, and where do they get the energy from? Any idea? So in rural areas, renewable energy will have to grow and grow and grow and grow to serve the cities. And the why for people would be very, very, very difficult question to answer. But spatial planning is a tool that is extremely useful in this case to discuss where a local community can accept what. So if you want to develop and change, it is important to meet people where they are and not where your design for a plan is, which is in a desk or somewhere very far away from the campfire. This is an example of stakeholders that were really interested and found what's in it for me. The heating on SAMSO is via district heating. And the fuel is local biomass. So the farmers are selling straw to district heating plants. And they get paid, they have contracts with the district heating plants. And they even get the ash back. So they don't have to burn the straw that they're not harvesting on the fields to keep the ash to nourish the soil. They get it back from the district heating plant. This is one of our flagship projects. It was 2003, if I'm not mistaken. And that's a 10 turbines of 2.3 each, 4 kilometers off the coast of SAMSO. At the time, as I said, it was impossible to talk about electric ferries. It was impossible to talk, almost impossible to talk about electric cars. Definitely not electric buses or tractors. So the transport sector was not able to be touched at that point. And to reach carbon neutrality, we had to build an offshore to compensate for the emissions at the time. The reason why I'm showing this is that there was a very good location for this offshore, which was the best from a feasibility, a profitability point of view. And yet we knew that it was impossible, an impossible position. And then there was a second best, and then that was also impossible. People would never accept it. So we went for the third best. This is the third best, most profitable position, but it was the only realistic or pragmatic. So no matter how good a project looks on paper from a technical, financial, or environmental point of view, it is actually only as good as stakeholders can see it. Otherwise, it just can remain like a plan or a feasibility study on the shelf. At the time, we did talk about electric cars, but now we do. There's plenty of renewable electricity now, and the prices have gone down. So the municipality has replaced all the municipal fleet, which is not, it's common sense now. This was done how many years ago? Maybe 10? Yeah. This is an award Samsung won in 2021 at the COP16, I think, in 26 in Glasgow. We were awarded a Climate Leadership Award, and at the left you can see the mayor, in the middle you can see our director of the Samsung Energy Academy. I put this example which has nothing to do with Samsung. So this is probably the biggest, or at the time, I'm not sure if it's still the biggest wind farm in the world. It's in Texas. Someone mentioned Eon. Eon was the developer here. And there was a very interesting model. They studied a little bit what we did. And that guy, the one-armed cowboy from Roscoe, Texas, he organized all the landowners to negotiate with the developer. They created an association of landowners. And of course, he made a reference to me when I met him about arms, because that's because this Texas. So he said, a landowners association is like when you get, it's like getting a hunting license, he said. When you get a hunting license, you're not guaranteed that you'll get a deer, but you're guaranteed the right to shoot for a deer. So it was the same logic that only those farmers, only those landowners that signed up to the association got the possibility to get a wind turbine on the land, and therefore income. If someone didn't sign up, the association, he was excluded. And the second very good reason is that they negotiated benefits for the local community, which was 600 people. So this is 600 wind turbines for 600 people. So they created almost one per person. They didn't do shares, but they negotiated to have a fund where the developer paid a very big amount of money, and then they used this fund as guarantees to raise grants from the government, and it was a ripple effect, a domino effect, where they accumulated money and grants to renovate all the schools. They created pre-college education programs. It was probably, I don't know, 100% of the youngsters of 17-year-old from Roscoe, Texas, after high school, went to college because the fee for the college education was paid by this fund. So it's an example of local benefits out of a monster in the desert. So it's also about understanding what benefits can a project bring to a local community. The future. So for 2030, Samsung wants to be fossil-free, and this is our climate plan at the top right. So now we're talking about electric ferries. In 1 month time, there will be an electric ferry on Samsung for 200 cars and 600 passengers. We just installed how many? Around 60 charging points, more or less. So the amount of electric cars is increasing. In the middle, you can see a plan about renewable energy, where it's allowed and where it's not allowed, where the island community decided that it cannot be installed. And then at the left, you can see an exercise where we studied so for energy, there is a plan. For other uses, there is also a plan. We want to attract more people, so it's where you can build, what you can build. For agriculture, there's a plan. What is agricultural land? Where can you cultivate? So for many of these users, there is a plan, and often it comes with a target. And then at some point you realize that to reach all the targets, and putting one plan on top of the other, to reach all the targets, you need more than the surface you have. And this is a very crucial, it's a very crucial spatial planning is a very, very good tool to work on this. So this is an exercise we did about how different plans can work together. And we're coming up with an overall plan that will be part of the municipal plan. And the bottom-up approach also was extended in this case, where we organized workshops, open workshops for the citizens. So it was a workshop in the beginning, and then followed by a public meeting on different topics, from agriculture to sustainable tourism and business development, energy development, CO2 reduction from villages, from houses, and then the land use. And it was very important, again, to be able to hear, to invite people in to hear what do they think about the future, because this is their plan. And I would like to finish with this quote, that when we create a common sense of ownership, the road is open for development. This that I showed are part of a guide that we created, and which condenses all the experience we accumulated from the 10 years, for 25 years of development on Samsung. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Alexis, for this great presentation. Tusind tak for det, kære nordiske venner. So, next in line is Dere Stila from Nordic Energy Research, representing the Net Zero Island Network, and she's going to tell us a bit about that. Thank you so much.
Yes, thank you very much, Otto. And I can see that time is running up a bit. So I will do this just briefly, because I will not tell a story, a Sussex story, necessarily from one island or remote area, but I will tell you what we do at a Nordic institution under the Nordic Council of Ministers from Nordic Energy Research side to facilitate knowledge collaboration and knowledge capacity, increasing that for islands and remote areas in our region. We call our project the Net Zero Island Network. It's a network where we gather people from islands and remote areas in the Nordic region, as well as from Scotland, Ireland, and Canada, where you have received funding for that. So that's quite amazing as well. I'll just briefly say that Nordic Energy Research is the Nordic institution for joint energy research and research-based policy development under the Nordic Council of Ministers. Sounds really fancy. We do a lot of different activities. We provide research funding. We do reports as well, so we have an analytical function. We provide secretarial support, for instance, for this network, the Net Zero Island Network. And finally, we also promote Nordic cooperation in international fora. For those of you who not necessarily know what the Nordic region consists of or which countries are involved, these are the countries. We have Greenland, Iceland, Faroe Islands, Denmark, Norway, Sweden, Åland Islands, as well as Finland involved in our region. Besides that, we collaborate a lot with the Baltic countries, as well as Scotland, Ireland, and Canada in our work. So, a bit about the network. The network was established back in 2020 and is funded by the Nordic Council of Ministers. So we have a ministerial support to do this network and to focus on what we do exactly. Within this network, we have the key aim to facilitate knowledge sharing and collaboration. We have islands and remote areas represented from all the countries that we emphasize in the region, or we have included in the region. And what is quite unique for this network, from my perspective, is that our members are not coming from with the same perspective on not dealing with the energy transition in specific same way. We have both people coming from local authorities, energy supply companies, consultancy companies, NGOs, and academics. But what characterizes the members of the network is that they are living mostly physically on the islands and remote areas, so they can speak from themselves and know exactly what a transition is important for them in this perspective. Yes, so again, knowledge sharing and collaboration is the essence of this network. And how we do it and how we have done it so far is that we facilitate physical seminars. For the last 2 days, or yesterday until today, we've been gathered here in Iceland to see how it's going here with the green energy transition, focusing a lot on transport, but we have also visited other islands and remote areas. That if you do things together, we accept that we can do it on a national scale, but you usually get more impact or more effects just by doing together and sharing knowledge. So what I will say about this network specifically is what we place an emphasis on is that we believe there can be gained added value by gathering people from islands and remote areas to share successes and failures related to their sustainable energy projects. That's what we are here for. Great. And then finally to say, we have several renewable energy projects going on in our region. I've added a few photos of some of them, ranging from PV panels to wind turbines, electric ferries, biogas initiatives, etc. We have a lot of people gathered here in the Net Zero Island Network. Some of them will deliver a presentation later on their strategical energy plans and vision from the islands and remote areas. But we are here, so come and ask me if you have any questions on who you should ask. If you want to talk with someone from Greenland, from Shetland, Åland, etc. I'm here for that. Our knowledge sharing is not just focusing on the technical aspects. I think that's important to emphasize as well. We also focus on the economic frameworks, on policy frameworks and regulation. A lot of emphasis on community ownership and engagement, as you know, is quite important, and also aspects of strategical energy planning. And because I have short time, just straight to, if you have any questions, we have our COO here from Nordic Energy Research, Elvar. You can find him among the crowd as well. I have my colleague standing in the back here in the room, Torsten as well, you can ask from Nordic Energy Research. Yeah, and then I'm here as well, as you can see. So thank you very much. If you have any questions, just come to me here afterwards. That will be perfect. Yes.
Thank you so much, Dere. To conclude this session, I want to invite our dear colleague from Icelandic New Energy, Marianne Ribes, the project manager.
The best partner to organize and hosting this event today. I'm going to present you the RECET project. And I've been told to be fast, so I'm going to start by the end. So a better word about the rural area, because the RECET project, standing for Rural Europe for the Clean Energy Transition, nice acronym, is all about the rural area and developing the Clean Energy Transition Plan for all those municipalities. So the rural area, they are often overlooked, but on the EU alone, they represent more than 80% of the surface of the land. And depending on how you measure urbanized area, between 15 and 40% of the population is living in rural area. And these lands is subjected to all kind of regulation, from European, like the EU Green Deal, the Rural Pact, the national regulation, the regional plans, and then they have to write their CCAP, their municipal clean energy transition plan. That puts a lot on burden on the municipality staff that, especially in small municipality, have very limited time and resources. This is where the RECET project comes into action. The RECET project is a project funded by the EU, was signed in 2023 for 3 years, and we are now halfway through the project. We have 9 partners across 5 countries, from north up to the West Fjord in Iceland, to south of Europe, in Menorca, the island of Menorca in Spain. And it englobes 38 municipalities. The whole project is based on this methodology that was published in 2018, the 10-step ladder. And since I've been asked to be quick, I'm going to Like by the end, one of the first findings we found in this project is we have to stop using that vocabulary. We need to adapt the message to the people we are talking to. The second very strong point about the RECET project is we have to talk to people. Listen to them. So first, the first step would be to talk to experts, then to municipalities, then all kind of private companies and citizen, NGO. Listen to the need to the communities and integrate those needs and vision into the clean energy transition plan. This has the effect. Okay, it takes a lot of time, but it actually is the burden of the staff of the municipalities by allowing the municipalities, like in Samsø, this is part of our project, one of the best partners. They can share their experience. It's to give the citizen and the committee to own the plan, so the plan doesn't end up in a shelf. For small municipalities with limited resources, the temptation would be to ask a consulting company to do the plan for them, and then it would end up in a shelf. Some of our partners did that, and the plan ended up on the shelf. So they are with us to restart from the beginning, and so their experience is very valuable because we can learn from what to do, how to do, what works, what doesn't work. And now we have the first findings of the RECET project. The first one is this, like naturally, from a timeline point of view, we will naturally go speak to the municipality first, like get them involved because they are the one will be like responsible for writing and developing the clean energy transition plan. Then the utility companies and the local business. And what is really important is really not to talk to them, but listen to them and go beyond what we call green talk or energy talk, and really be aware and get what is their vision and integrate it in the clean energy transition plan. And use this policy to drive the change into the community, like Samsø did. Then, through the organization of workshops or meetings with the local communities, it is very important to keep it fresh, having new actors, bringing new point of views, bringing new knowledge to the community, which may or may not have the knowledge and the skills and the technical knowledge of what is going on, what is possible. Also the inspiration, like what Samsø did with the wind farms. The experience showed also that it is important to choose wisely the time and the day. It might sound trivial, but it is not. It can change the whole dynamics of a meeting, of a work session. And then comes the hard point. When it gets to get this plan developed, it must be approved by local authorities. Two aspects that can be game changers. Because like this hierarchy of project going on, many are going in the same direction. So using the synergy of those ongoing projects would be a way to accelerate all the process. The second is the political engagements. Once we talk to all the stakeholders, the NGOs, the farmers, fishermen, and car rentals, harbor authorities, forestry authorities, there is no really good excuse for the local authority or the elected representative to not approve the plan that is where everybody is already on board. So this is also a way to get the commitment of both the communities and the political representative. So I've been really short. Thank you very much. You can find here you have access here to the website of the RECET project, and on the left you have You have all the contacts who can want to know more or reach out to know about the RECET project or share your experience. All kind of experience are good to share. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Marianne. It's time for a coffee break. So please stand up. Sorry? Yeah. Switch the slides, Otto. Yes, we are here. It's time for a coffee break. I will nudge you when we should sit down again, and we'll continue after the coffee break. Thank you. So please take your time and mingle a bit. We will be starting in 2 minutes. 2 minutes. Dear friends, Mikael Christensen, du skulle finde det sæde, ikke? So, next in line is Skúli Gunnar Árnason. He's going to talk about oil sales in Iceland and say geographical breakdown of oil sales in Iceland and implications it has for rural communities. Yes, I think, yeah, welcome, Skúli. Thank you. I want to hand you the mic, please.
Thank you, everyone. I'm happy to be here. It's nice to see all of you and all of the interesting presentations we've heard so far. I want to tell you a little bit about the oil consumption in Iceland in the years 2010 and 2020. And we're going to look a little bit on the geographical breakdown of this oil consumption. Tack. Well, first let's look at Iceland's energy balance. First of all, Iceland is known for its beautiful nature, the geysers, the volcanoes, and the renewable energy. In fact, over 99% of Iceland's electricity in the sockets in the walls comes from renewable sources. But still, Iceland imports around 1 million tons of oil per year. And that is 15% of Iceland's primary energy. But what are these 1 million tons actually used for? They can be roughly split into 3 main groups, around 30% each, and these groups are aviation, transport on land, and marine use. So roughly speaking, 30% each. The remaining 10% go to other industries or industrial use. But this is not really the most interesting part because this is very general and probably similar to other countries. It is more interesting to look at how the oil is distributed between different regions of Iceland. And why and how can we do this? We are actually very lucky that Iceland collected a very detailed data set on oil sales in the years between 2010 and 2020 due to subsidies connected to the oil industries. The resolution is actually down to municipal level, so we can get a very clear sense of where the oil is being consumed. It includes all fuel types sold in Iceland during this period for aviation, marine, and transport on land, and this other use as well. And here we will focus on some interesting things that we can see when we look at the transport on land. That's what we want to focus on. This data set provides a glimpse into the consumption patterns of Iceland in these years between 2010 and 20. Now, here we see the overall oil consumption for all of Iceland in transport on land. It hovers around these 300,000 tons. We can see a sharp increase between 2014-15 maybe and up to 2018, likely due to a tourist boom in that time period. We can also see the very sharp decline due to the pandemic in 2020. But what we really wanted to know was, is there any variability between regions? With this data set, we can actually see if there is any. It has been claimed that rural areas use more fuel for transport for the simple reason because they are rural. So the distances are longer and they need to drive further. We could, however, not find any really good data sets or measurements to support these claims, but it sort of goes as a common sense, but we could not find any data to support it. This type of data is, however, extremely important because it can potentially impact decision-making on policies, for example, regarding emission fees intended to drive the clean energy transition forward. This is especially important if you want to ensure that the energy transition is fair, regardless of where you live. But what does this new data set tell us? If we look at this data, what we have here is the oil consumption per capita per ton normalized for the capital area, meaning that the capital region is the yellow line here. You can see the straight yellow line. That is the oil consumption of the capital area. All the other area, and I put this map up there for your convenience if you're not very good in Icelandic geography, which I'm also not very good at either. You can see that all the other regions, except maybe for the Reykjanes Peninsula, all the other regions have between 25 and 125 more oil consumption than the capital area. The biggest difference is in the southern part of Iceland, perhaps driven by tourism, as that is one of Iceland's busiest destinations. We can also see that the northeast Iceland, the region where we are right now, has one of the lowest consumption outside of the capital area. And perhaps this is because that here we have a pretty good level or high level of service in this area. And Akureyri is becoming a very strong rural town servicing the northeast region. And it is also very likely that the towns or the consumption of the towns or the people living around Akureyri could be considerably higher than the ones that live exactly in Akureyri. However, these are right now only our guesses, best guesses based on this data set. We can, of course, further on try to match this to other data sets to see if we can paint a clearer picture of why this difference exists. It remains, however, that the data clearly shows us that the consumption is significantly higher outside of the capital area. And and further analysis could likely show us why that is in more detail. I wanted to show you this picture. It's a little bit different way of looking at it. And to visualize the difference, the darker areas consume more oil than the national average. Lighter areas consume less oil than the national average. And here you can sort of see, instead of the graph that we were looking at, you can see the areas directly that are consuming more oil. And here you can see the very stark contrast between the capital area and the regions in the south coast, and here in the northeast and northwest and west. What does this mean? All regions of Iceland consume more oil in transport per capita than the capital area. This is important to be aware of when developing clean energy transition policies, especially the ones affecting oil prices in any kind of way. Any increase in oil price or fees, the rural areas will be hit twice as hard. This analysis was part of a bigger analysis we did together with Apple Engineering. There are more breakdowns, detailed breakdowns on different municipalities. It's, however, only available in Icelandic. Sorry for the non-Icelandic speakers, but maybe if you're interested, ChatGPT can help you with some sections of the report if you want to have a look. Anyway, if you scan the QR code, it will take you directly to our webpage where we have all our projects and these reports listed. Before I go, I want to use this opportunity to highlight an interesting part of RECET, the RECET project that we've been working on lately. Through the work in RECET, we've held numerous workshops on clean energy transition with the municipalities here in the northeastern part of Iceland. And during these workshops, we've gotten a huge amount of ideas for actions, both big and small, that push the needle towards the clean energy transition. We are working on right now to take these ideas and creating a database or a library online that is accessible to every municipality that wants to work on their climate action plan. And these ideas, they have a broad range. So this is something every municipality should be able to find some kind of actions in there that they are capable of implementing. This database will be available this fall, and we will be in touch with, and you can also be in touch with us if you want to know more about this database. And that's it from me today. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Skúli. Now I want to invite Yvonne Österlund. She's affiliated with Net Zero Island Network. Yvonne is the senior engineer of the government of Åland, and she is going to tell us about the sustainability agenda and the development of the sustainability agenda for Åland. Welcome, Yvonne.
Thank you. Let's see. Yeah, did you know that we have a cooperation with Iceland on sustainable development? I didn't know that. I was Googling information and I found this picture. This is our minister and your minister signing a memorandum of understanding on sustainable development. So I guess it's just natural that I'm here to talk to you about these things today. This is a short agenda. I only have 12 minutes. So we will see how this works out. I have lots of pictures. But we're going to talk about how we did this and then end up in the energy questions in Åland Islands. But first, something about Åland. We are situated in the middle of the world's largest archipelago. We have 7,000 islands. We are 30,000 inhabitants. We have one town called Mariehamn. We are self-governed since 1922, meaning we have our own laws. Even we have the EU laws, we have the Finnish laws, and we have the Åland laws, so it's quite complicated. We have our own parliament. It's elected every 4 years, has 30 members, and it legislates in lots of different areas in the Åland Islands. This picture shows our government. In the middle, you can see our Prime Minister, Katrin Sjögren, from the Liberal Party. We pay our state taxes to Finland. The municipal tax is our own, but the state tax goes to Finland. We get a lump sum back. It corresponds to how many people we are in Åland compared to the Finnish population. We have a government administration. We are 4 departments, a government office and a legislative drafting office. We have 15 independent authorities in the Åland Islands. And besides that, several publicly owned companies, like our own TSO, Kraftnät Åland. We are about 800 people, plus the healthcare, 900 people, and a budget around 360 million euros. Besides that, being 30,000 inhabitants, of course, we need 16 municipalities, if someone was asking. The smallest one is Sottunga, just over 100 persons. Still having all the councils and boards and committees that they should have. Yeah, it's quite interesting. It's quite expensive. But I'm here to talk to you about our organized sustainability work. And it started in 2014, sorry, not that long ago. And that's when our parliament and our government decided to adopt a common pursuit to be social sustainable development in Åland no later than 51. And this in accordance to the 4 sustainability principles. The question, of course, was, how do we do this? So we decided on something that we hadn't done before. You heard it from Samsa as well, the bottom-up and top-down approach, and also the inside-out. You know, asking everyone to join on forums, taking all the knowledge into the system and figuring out how to go from there. We had a forum open for all in February 16. And this is when the platform and dialogue forum of Bärkraft was founded. This is also when our Development and Sustainability Council was established. This council has a central role in our sustainability work. It approves our goals and reports, it evaluates progress, and acts if necessary if we are not reaching our goals. The members is the Speaker of the Parliament, is the head of government, that is our Prime Minister, our Minister of Finance, and also a General Secretary of the General Administration. The business sector and the civil society has 3 seats each in this council, and then the farmers, municipalities, arts and culture, and education sector has 1 seat. So this is the central council leading our sustainability work. The question after that was, what are we supposed to do? Together with the Åland people, we found a vision, we found 7 strategic development goals, and also an implementation strategy. And in September 16, we had a new forum open for all Ålanders. And this is when the development and sustainability agenda was manifested. The same year, the Parliament adopted the agenda through our annual public budget, and since then it has been part of the budget every year. So what did we decide on? This is our vision. Everyone can flourish. Being an engineer, I felt this was a little bit strange. Flourish. We're talking about flourish. Anyway, we are actually measuring that now. We have an indicator for flourishing. Everyone can flourish on the islands of peace, is our vision. And we have 7 strategic development goals. The first 2 has to do with the individual, its well-being and trust and participation. The 2 second, the 3rd and the 4th has to do with the environment, clean water and biodiversity. Then we have attractiveness. It has to do with Åland being attractive to those that live there, but also those that visit, but also being attractive in the long term for the future generations. And the 6th and the 7th goal has to do with sustainability, significantly reduced climate impact and sustainable consumption and production. I said something about the organization, but it's bigger than the council. The Parliament has the overall responsibility for the realization of the agenda. So the Parliament party leaders regularly meet to follow up the agenda. We also have several network groups. We have the youths, the companies, the municipalities, artists, civil society organizations. We have a guidance function and also a coordination and reporting working group to make sure that the agenda is actually used in all of our society. Every goal has its own roadmap. This can be found on the internet, on our website, bärkraft.ax. It's updated twice a year, and we also produce status reports. We have now produced our 6th status report. The status report shows our progress and also our success factors and gives a decision support for our leaders. So please have a look at bärkraft.ax. Most of the information is in Swedish, but some is in English as well. But perhaps Google can help you with that. And now we should have a short peek into the 6th goal, which is significantly reduced climate impact. And this is the roadmap like it looks right now since the last update. So this is moving all the time. And here you can see that we are struggling with our fossil-free archipelago traffic. They are still all running on fossil fuel. We can't afford changing them. It's costing too much. So now we are looking into retrofitting at least the newest ones, but also shortening the trips overseas. have any cars going over land instead. So also to facilitate making them electric. Wind power, we are quite good at wind power. About 60% of our annual electricity consumption comes from locally produced wind power. But we also have a project called Sunan Wind Project, where we are enabling offshore wind power north of the Åland Islands of 4 gigawatt. This comes hand in hand with the other side of the picture, the hydrogen discussion in the Åland Islands. We have now a letter of intent with the Finnish gas TSO, gas grid, to explore if hydrogen economy could be something for the Åland Islands. Solar energy, we are reaching a goal. Our goal is 7 megawatt to 2030. We are now at 15 megawatt. We just, our first solar park of 1 megawatt is in operation now, but we have 2 more solar parks coming up, about 6 more megawatts. So we're going to reach the solar goal, but most of the solar power is on roofs, of course. We are also working on a new climate plan, and this is also when we're going to upgrade our gas emission investigation. We're going to have our first electric buses this autumn in Mariehamn. We have been waiting for quite a while for that, but as you might remember, the bus prices went up with COVID and Ukraine and whatever. So, but now they're coming, finally. We are also working on the district heating. Mariehamn also is installing its 3rd bioplant, and after that, they will hardly use any fossil oil in the district heating system in Mariehamn anymore. But as you can see, we're also working on charging infrastructure, public transport, energy efficiency, sustainable building, and we are doing an investigation into the carbon sinks, because our goal right now is being carbon neutral 35, which is not possible, I can say that. But we have to look at the carbon sinks first. Progress. This is our sub-goals. We are not reaching the first one. The politicians decided to change it against my advice from 60% in between 05 and 30 to 80%. We are at 45% now. I don't think we're going to reach 80%, hardly 60, but we are at least going in the right direction. We also thought that the transition into electric cars would go faster, so we're hoping for 50% lower greenhouse gas emissions in the traffic. We are now at 10%. We are not reaching the goal. But when it comes to electricity, it's looking quite good. 65% is now renewable and locally, and the rest is import from Sweden. We have a cable to Sweden. We have 2 cables to Finland, making us, in the middle of everything. And as you know, the Sweden electricity it's not fossil-free, but it's quite good. And no fossil heating from buildings. We are already at really low levels and decreasing, so we're going to reach that one as well. This is all the goals and where we are standing right now. We are going in the right direction, but there are sub-goals that we are not reaching, which is probably not even possible. This is the timeline from 14 to 24. And 24 is there because of this. We made a voluntary review to UN. I can show it. Looks like the picture over there. You can find this on the internet. It is in English. Yeah. Otherwise, UN wouldn't have read it, I guess. And the fun thing about that is that this UN agency, UN Habitat, noticed our work. So we have a letter of intent with UN, and the intention is to promote the implementation of this concept of everyone can flourish to other parts of the world. And with that, if you want to know more about the Åland Islands, you can find the links here. If you visit the Åland Islands, you give me a call, and I will give you a guide. So thank you very much for this.
Thank you very much, Yvonne. When I go to Holland next time, I will certainly give you a call. Next, I want to invite Anna Månsson of the Energy Agency of Southern Sweden. Anna is a dear colleague from the RECET project, so please, thank you.
Hello, nice to be here in Akureyri. It's my first time on Iceland. I would like to tell you an example from the RECET project that I'm working with in Blekinge. But before I tell you the story about Sölvesborg, I will tell you just a few words about the organization that I work for, which is Energikontor Syd. We operate in 4 counties in Sweden, in the southeast part of Sweden, but we're also part of a national network of regional energy agencies. In our case, our company is owned by approximately 55 municipalities and regions in this area. So our work is to support the municipalities in different energy questions. Well, everything is related to the sustainable energy system somehow. But we're also part of a European network called Fedaren. They gather a lot of energy agencies all over Europe. There are over 300 regional energy agencies all over Europe. So we operate from the European level down to the local level. But now I will tell you about Sölvesborg. It is the municipality in Blekinge. So Blekinge is this blue part. It's the blue here county. And Blekinge is the second smallest county in Sweden. And Sölvesborg is the second smallest municipality in Blekinge. We support not only Sölvesborg, but also 2 other municipalities in Blekinge within the RECET project. But the reason why I talk about Sölvesborg is that Sölvesborg is, I think, the first municipality that politically adopted their energy plan in the beginning of this year as a result of the RECET project. That's great. I thought, I wish that you will all remember Sölvesborg when you leave this meeting. So I will just make a very short exercise with you, which is to try to pronounce the Sölvesborg. Sölvesborg. Yeah, that's great. Once again, please. Nice. Now you'll remember Sölvesborg. Just to give you a picture of the size of this municipality, they have a bit over 17,000 inhabitants, and it's a quite small municipality looking at the surface. And they recently adopted their energy plan in the beginning of this year. And that was actually the second time they asked for the adoption decision from the politicians. So the first time it was turned down, but the second time it was approved. The RECET partnership knows about the tomatoes, but I will tell you very shortly the story about my tomatoes from last year. So they are Swedish tomatoes. You can see they have different sizes, different colors, and they have different shapes. What you can see is that they have different flavors, and they grow on different plants. So they're different in many ways. Municipalities that we work with in the RECET project, they're also very different. They're like different tomatoes. And it's very important that we tailor our support to the municipalities so that they fit the needs of the municipalities and the circumstances that they have in their specific area. So we have the 10-step ladder, as Marianne mentioned. This is not as linear as it looks. We often say that it's very common that we work on many levels, on many steps at the same time in the process. You're not supposed to use it as a checklist, like going through step 1, then continues to step 2, and so on. And we will not encourage anyone to stop working with energy planning when you reach step 10. But we use it as like an inspiration or a way to explain to a municipality how the process of developing an energy plan could look like and what it could consist of. And we try to emphasize that it's a continuous process, and through the RECET project, we try to start this process in many municipalities. The first step on the ladder is to identify or create political intent to develop a plan. And I will just give you an example of how we did that in Sölvesborg. We made a collaboration agreement together with the municipality. So basically we told them that if you promise to start the process of developing an energy plan, we promise to support you. This is a support for us as the regional energy agency, giving the support, but it's also like a support for the person at the municipality working with those questions, because he or she could use this agreement when talking to colleagues or politicians or other persons in the administration of the municipality. Another section of this collaboration agreement said that we would like you, as a municipality, to point out a group of experts that can work with the development of the energy plan. So this is the expert group in Sölvesborg. Hardworking group of experts and persons in the municipality. We had a couple of meetings, and our role in this group was to gather them, to give them inspiration, to organize capacity building activities, and to support them along the way. You talked about courage earlier. Sölvesborg did not wait for national guidelines. They knew that the Swedish Energy Agency was supposed to give new guidelines on how to develop an energy plan, but they didn't wait. They wanted to develop their energy plan. They knew that it's a continuous work, so that the plan we do now, it's not like the final result. It's just the start of something. And I think that the courage that they had also gave them benefits, because now they have already received external funding to start implementing some of the activities that they pointed out in their plan. We also tell the municipalities that you should not work with this alone. You have to work together. Keep the network that we started in the energy group, or the group of experts, because it takes a lot of time to develop a plan, and it takes a lot of time to implement a plan. It requires a lot of internal collaboration and cooperation and coordination. And there is a need for, we think, also regional collaboration. So the next step in Blekinge would be to form a network or a relationship between the persons working with energy planning in the different municipalities. And we do that together with the regional development office. So we will gather our tomatoes in Blekinge to see how we can learn from each other and share and inspire each other through the energy planning road. So thank you, and hope you someday visit Sölvesborg.
Thank you very much, Anna. Next in line is Daniel Gier from the. Daniel is the director of equitable energy research in the Shetland Islands. So please, yeah, I see you're eager to start. Please,
Thank
yes,
you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Which is the next one? This one.
Yeah, we go like this. Okay,
Thank you. Thank you. Otto says I don't have time to tell you about my, well, I can't tell them about my Icelandic family tree, can I? No, since it's your birthday, I won't know. Yes, I'm going to speak today about the local and regional energy transition strategies, specifically in the context of Scotland and Shetland. But first of all, we'll zoom out to the global scale. You can see here on the map, this shows the total energy demand and how it's met in the first graph on the left-hand side here. And we still have a long way to go to displace the use of fossil fuels. So what we would expect to see if the energy transition is successful is that gradually that fossil fuel proportion will get smaller and the other more sustainable energy generating means will get larger. But of course, we need to think about the spatial requirements. So when we look at the space that these different technologies take up, you know, nuclear is very, very small, but wind, and particularly onshore wind, has the largest footprint, the largest number of square kilometres per terawatt hour. So when we look at what's going on in Scotland, can I step to the other side? Or?
You can step.
Yeah.
Well.
It's okay. I'll stand here. So you can see here the map on the left-hand side. This is Scotland, and the dots that are onshore are all the onshore wind farms, and the ones that are dark offshore, those are ones that are in construction. The ones that are light-coloured are ones that have been consented. So you can see very, very quickly there's this huge spatial transformation that's happening. When we look at this in the context of the Shetland Islands, then what I thought I would do is overlay some of the information that affects our largest sector, which is the fisheries sector. Huge employer in Shetland, people working on boats, people working in the processing factories, these different kinds of fisheries. And what I've shown here is marine restricted areas, as well as cable routes, communication routes, electrical transfer, all of these things that compete for fisheries space. And you can see all the oil and gas pipelines that go off to the north there, that we quite often see the Russian vessels surveying in secret. These new areas, these blue areas to the east of Shetland, is the offshore wind areas. And so what's happening is our largest industry is concerned that the economic utility of their sea space is essentially being transferred from an industry that's overwhelmingly locally owned to one that has distant shareholders elsewhere. So how is that just? This is the question. So in order to address this, then we formed a not-for-profit community interest company called Equitable Energy Research. And the purpose of Equitable Energy Research is to look at examples of international best practice. So that's why I'm here today. I was seeing lots and lots of that, so thank you very much. We want to work directly with communities especially, but also with project developers and government agencies to look at what does fair mean, what's just in the context of this big change. And lastly, we're publishing information that advises and supports communities as they navigate this energy transition. Now, some of the research that we've done has looked at the spectrum of social value. We've looked at how social value increases from the smallest impact to the largest impact. The smallest impact, which I'll come on to, is what we've framed here as the supply chain and indirect benefits. Really, these are things that would happen anyway. These are like business as usual benefits. If somebody wants to come and build a wind farm, it's not enough for them to say, but think of the jobs, because that's really right at this end of the spectrum. And anyway, Shetland's at the irreducible minimum of unemployment. So who's going to do the jobs? It'll be fly in, fly out workers. In the middle, we have community benefit payments. Now, there is, I'll speak to you a little bit about the community benefit payments arrangements that are in place. And this gives the communities a bit more flexibility in terms of how they interact with the energy project, how they spend the money, how they build community wealth. And ownership is the ultimate example. We had an example earlier on of a small community, 250 people, built a 4.5 megawatt wind farm and have just transformed the fortunes of that community. So ownership, community ownership, municipal ownership, that's the gold standard for increasing social value. We undertook a study with an organisation called Platform London to look at social value from renewables across all of the Highlands and Islands. In fact, I'll go back to that one. And these are the areas that we looked at. So Shetland, Orkney, the Western Isles, Highland, Moray, Argyll and Bute. They were the sort of equivalent of the municipalities here. When we look at the supply chain and indirect benefits, so this is going back to the business as usual benefits, jobs, maybe some short-term housing. This was a barge that came to Shetland when the Shetland gas plant was built, very large gas processing facility. And in the words of one of the local business owners, he said, it was good when they were here, we got to make the sandwiches. So that's an example of, a very low socioeconomic impact. Then we're looking at long-term housing opportunity, and we are starting to get traction now with some of the developers who are saying, okay, it's not enough just to bring a barge in, we actually want to leave a bit of legacy behind the project. The thing that we need is housing, and they're agreeing to invest in that and then transfer that after the project is finished to the local authority or the local housing association. And then we have the opportunity for local ownership and community ownership. And somebody said earlier on, I can't recall who was speaking about the ripple effects of making an investment. I think it was Alexis maybe. The ability of these organisations then to go out and access other funds that can transform their community. It's just entirely unlocked through having that initial capital. There are also a spectrum of value in the context of community benefit payments. You can link payments to installed capacity. This is what happens a lot at the moment. And that's where there's no link to production. It's just we've installed 5 megawatts of power, therefore we will give you £5,000 per year per installed megawatt. The next option is a share of gross project revenue. Now we chose revenue because in the UK there's this scenario where projects can earn money for not turning, they can get their curtail payments, and what we're saying is really the community should get a share of all the revenues, not just the production revenues or the profits. Profits can be obviously manipulated in movements between entities. And the last one here is the share of the gross project revenue with an income guarantee. Now, this is what we've recommended to the Shetland Islands Council. It's what the councillors have adopted, and it's called the floor and ramp model. So essentially, there's a guaranteed minimum payment per megawatt installed per year, and if 5% of that is above that number, then they get 5% of revenue. But if 5% of revenue is below that floor, then they get the floor. So floor and ramp. Community and municipal ownership. So there isn't really many examples of, there are some examples of local authority ownership, but it's vastly outweighed by private development. So in Scotland, about 0.6% of installed capacity is community municipally owned. The rest of it is private developer-led. It's a very small proportion. And I don't know if you've heard about Great British Energy. It's the new energy company that nobody really knows what it's going to do or how it's going to work. So we're trying to we're trying to court these guys in Shetland so that we can see if there's a benefit of seeing if they can support community-owned renewables. I'm noticing that I'm getting short on time here, so I just wanted to pull out some highlights from the different local authorities. Shetland had tremendous success in securing value from oil and gas. And in fact, through our negotiations with oil and gas companies in the 70s, we built the second richest local authority in the UK after Westminster in London. And that was purely just by agreeing a payment per tonne of oil that passed over the shore. We've failed to do that with wind, unfortunately. However, we do have a shining example in the form of the Garth Wind Farm, which is 1/100th the size of the Viking project, but it returns the same amount for its community of 250 people than the 100 times larger Viking project does for all of Shetland. And the only difference is that this one is owned by the community and this one is owned by a developer. In Orkney, they're now the only local authority in Scotland that's looking at completely municipally owned projects, and they're doing that with tremendous success. They actually bought an island specifically to build a wind farm on, and again, they've recognised the difference between something that's locally owned, it has broad local support, the community can see the benefits, versus the Shetland scenario where you've just got an entire community almost turned against the idea of renewables as a result. Western Isles, first community now to get to the £5,000 per megawatt from offshore wind. That's a noteworthy point. Highland Council came out and decided last year that they would want to target £12,500 per megawatt. So this is more than double what it's 2.5 times the industry standard. The renewable industry obviously attacked that position with vigour, but they're sticking to their guns. And then jumping right to the end, the Moray Council, 75 megawatts, £2,500 per megawatt per year community benefit. So what's going on here? You know, there's no real consistent approach, and we're seeing all sorts of different outcomes, and you're seeing, you know, communities trying to negotiate with developers. It's pretty tricky. So conclusions. There's a spectrum of social value that can come from the development of energy projects. Benefit payments is good if the model is right, but there's nothing that can beat partial or full community ownership. Community wealth building is starting to come into it, so this idea that projects should, you know, meaningfully contribute to the social fabric of a place. And this last point here, that the scale and pace in new energy developments requires us to retain a fair share of value in host communities. So I'm going to leave you with a question that we asked last year when I was in Holland, and that is who benefits, or in this case, who should benefit from the resources of a place. So if you'd like to get in touch, corner me after, or look me up on LinkedIn. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Daniel. This is very interesting to hear about all these different models that people have for, say, the community ownership. I've said it before. I know it's not popular, but I think the windmills here in Vaðlaheiði, they would look much more beautiful if we would co-own them here in Akureyri. But yeah, I'll leave it there for now. To conclude this session, I want to invite Michael Ross. He serves as the Industrial Research Chair of the Northern Energy Innovation at Yukon University. Please, here's your magic wand.
Thank you.
So, yeah, thank you very much.
Just the forward?
Sorry?
Just this one.
Yes.
Hi, everyone. So what I'm going to be talking about is fresh off the press. I actually met with Government of Nunavut and Kuluk Energy Corporation on my way over to Iceland. So a lot of this stuff is new, still in development. So part of this, why I want everyone to pay attention, is there is an opportunity for collaboration here on this specific project. And if there is interest, please come see me after the presentation. But really what we're trying to look at is a strategy on how to eliminate diesel from the territory of Nunavut. To give a little bit of context as to the work that I do, I live in the Yukon, so I live right up here in northern Canada, just east of our now not so friendly neighbors in Alaska. But our work is directed by the electric power utilities across Canada's north and coastal British Columbia. So we work on real pragmatic challenges that electric power utilities are facing. My background is electrical engineering, both predominantly electric power systems engineering, and we're looking at pragmatic solutions on addressing essentially what keeps them up at night. That being said, some of the issues are integrating renewables, and we also have worked with 14 rural and remote communities and indigenous communities on their high penetration renewable energy projects. I'm not going to talk about that right now, but that's essentially the bread and butter of how much renewables can you integrate without affecting system stability or reliability. What I'm going to be focusing on is in Nunavut. And just give a little bit of context into Nunavut, so this territory in the Yukon. It covers an area about 2 million square kilometers. So that's approximately, if you take Sweden, Norway, Finland, double the size, has a population of about 36,000 people, so approximately the size of Åland, and spread it across 25 communities. So that being said, Nunavut has a population density less than the Sahara Desert by a factor of 15. There are no roads or infrastructure in between the 25 different communities. In fact, a lot of the supplies need to be shipped in through sea lift from Montreal to the different communities. If you miss the sea lift, well, you have to wait for the next one. One of the challenges of this is there was a wind project in Cambridge Bay in Nunavut that missed the sea lift by 1 week. And because they had a lot of infrastructure, they had everything planning, it was cheaper for them to bring it up to Inuvik and helicopter it in than for them to wait for the next sea lift. There is no economies of scale. There are not a lot of renewable energy resources available that are implemented. In fact, that's probably, if you look at the bottom left, that's probably the easiest pie chart that you will see. That is how much of the energy in Nunavut from electricity, heating, and transportation is provided through fossil fuels. Now, when we look at the realistic context of everything, not only are they faced with this high, strict dependency on fossil fuels, when we look at the utility perspective, they're dealing with a lot of problems themselves, predominantly aging infrastructure. Now, this is the image on, or the graph on the left, my left, your right. It is a little bit old, but it's still the same thing. That is the remaining lifespan of the diesel generators themselves. So right now today, 10 of the 25 diesel plants are past its design life cycles. So if you think about developing an energy strategy, it's hard to plan for your deck renovation when your kitchen is actively on fire. And there are no economies of scale for investment in a lot of infrastructure, and it has to work the first time. Some of the challenges that they face is, say, for example, in Akviat, there was a blizzard that caused a power outage in the community for 4 days. So when you think about that, a power outage in an urban setting is a very big inconvenience. A power outage in an isolated, remote northern community can get critical very fast. So not only are they in the middle of winter, not only are they in a blizzard, but they're without heat or electricity. And the local utility can't fly in to fix it because the blizzard is so strong. How are they going to fix this? How do they maintain security and resiliency within their system? The helicopter image. That was from a community in Pangertung, where the battery system in the diesel plant, think of it as your 12-volt battery in your vehicle, caught on fire, burned down the diesel plant. They had to helicopter in a spare or a remote diesel generator into the community to keep power on. That one day cost them $8 million Canadian, which is about 800 million Icelandic kroners, for one day. Spread across about 36,000 people. Like, how are people going to afford this? I like this quote from one of Kuluk Energy Corporation's annual report. In a unique geographical location such as Nunavut, where 25 isolated communities are spread out across 2 million square kilometers and experience temperatures below minus 50 degrees Celsius, wind gusts above 150 kilometers per hour, generating and distributing electricity to our customers often poses significant challenges. That is an understatement. But that being said, never let a good crisis go to waste. And what I mean by that is the utilities have an approach where rather than trying to keep Band-Aid approaches of how do we keep the system going and what can we add on, what can we add on, rather than thinking of our energy approach as a brownfield, what system can we implement if we could start from scratch? If we had the technology that we have right now, kind of like in Africa, they didn't say, oh, we need to catch up on landlines in order to have communication infrastructure. They went straight to cell phones. If we're not limited to what we have prior, what can be done? And that is the idea that Nunavut wants to go for. So Kuluk Energy Corporation, they have a mandate, their CEO has a mandate from their board of directors saying, this dependency on fossil fuel is not okay. We need to change it. Now, they are not bad for having such dependency on fossil fuel. We are all trying to reduce our reliance on fossil fuels, but who here burned some fossil fuel to get here? Raise a hand. It's very useful. It's very pragmatic. It's very an inexpensive way of, and practical way of us to get there. They're not bad people for having this dependency, but they see the need for the reduction on the reliance of diesel. Government in Nunavut wants us to think about, rather than say, how do we have a better system to fuel our street lamps from whale and seal blubber, what are better ways of lighting the path when people need it at night? That is the kind of mind frame that they want to take with this approach. Now, I do recognize that everybody who has experience working with communities recognize that you can't just take a siloed approach just from the technical standpoint. I like to use the SEEP framework where you have to consider the social aspect, the technical aspect, the environmental aspect, the economic aspect, and the political aspect. If you don't consider any one of these, the whole project or the whole plan will likely fail. But what government of Nunavut says is, we have a handle on everything else. We don't have a handle on the technical. We get a lot of salespeople who come and tell us, this one solution will solve all of your problems forevermore. And without that information on how to critically assess it, what could it be? To critically assess it, it's very likely not going to it's not going to solve all the problems, and also community members don't have a means to evaluate that. So what they want is, from a strict technical point, what system could you build, or what system would you want to have, so that way they could dream towards that as opposed to build on that existing infrastructure. So I do recognize that this isn't a full community energy system or community energy plan. Everyone who has worked with communities says, you just focus on this one thing, that's not the best way of doing it. But this is the precursor. Rather than government of Nunavut and Kuluk Energy Corporation working with communities and say, what do you want? And the community saying, well, what do you have to offer? This is a out-of-the-box approach of, if you could build a system from scratch, what could or should it look like? And part of the reason why I'm opening this up for collaboration is, I know there aren't many guarantees in life, but I guarantee that every single person in this room knows at least one thing that I don't know. And this project isn't about me, it's for the benefit of Nunavummiut. And I am not a Nunavummiut. I live in the Yukon, I don't live in Nunavut. So this isn't supposed to be a desktop exercise to project and tell them what should be done. But it's a means of showing what is the best approach and how do we design it. And we could take some insights from different jurisdictions. So for example, there's an incinerator in Greenland that works very well, and understanding, hey, that works in Greenland, and Greenland and Nunavut are very similar in a lot of respects. And even approaches from Iceland, where you take the geothermal, you take the high heat resource, and then from the waste, you could go feed into the Blue Lagoon. And having that cascading impact where one processes garbage or output is another process's input. Or even the modularity approach, because I'm sure everyone who's worked with communities realizes that once you've seen one remote community, you've seen one remote community. They are all very different, but if there are processes for modularity, then you might have a scalable option. So these are all ideas that we could think about in order to develop what is possible for the future energy landscape on the highest diesel-dependent jurisdiction in Canada. So if you are interested in working with this and even share information back and forth, that's my contact information. I'd be happy to work with you.
Thank you very much, Michael. That concludes this session. But there is no need to hesitate. We can see. I went a bit too far here. So I want to initiate a panel discussion. I want to invite these people. Sigurður Friðleifsson, you are still here. Please come up and stand. You can pick a mic at your choice. From the Icelandic Environment and Energy Agency. Carlos Tapia, a researcher at Nordregio, specializing in the green transition. Dire Stila, please, an advisor at Nordic Energy Research. Mikael Christensen, yeah, do squat, stand up. Oh, so, yeah, and then it's a picture of myself, yes. Okay, so you have 3 microphones and you are 4, so you have to find a way to share.
We can share.
You can share, yes. So, I mean, it's not. Let's try to keep it light and informal. So, I mean, I have some guiding questions in mind, and I will maybe guide them to a particular one of you. However, I encourage you to take the ball and see where that gets us. Now, I mean, today we've been focusing on rural, remote, and islanded communities. We've thought about sort of policies and planning and how they can be assisted as sort of governance entities in making plans. They somehow seem, even though, I mean, it's as Michael just said, if you visited a rural community, you have visited a rural community. There is still somehow a common thread. I mean, they seem to share similar challenges. I mean, typically, rurally, I mean, things are more expensive. I mean, there is less, technical know-how, etc. Maybe starting on the end over there, Sigurður. I mean, how do we? I mean, these challenges that are I mean, how can we summarize what we have learned today? How can we overcome these challenges, specifically? Maybe from the governance perspective, because you are with that particular hat on now. So how can we overcome these challenges, focusing on these rural, remote, and islanded communities?
Good question.
Yeah.
I don't have the answer, but I think that maybe we need to reorganize the team, the implementation team. I mean, we are moving from technical problems to social problems. And the people that have been in this for a long time have to all realize that in the beginning we saw we had a problem, we wanted to change this, and we have to develop a lot of solutions. And most of the people are very excited about change. It's like wanting a dog. It's very exciting, and you can picture it. And then you just buy a dog. And suddenly the dog is on the market, and you can have it. And then kind of have some problems. Oh, okay, he does that. Okay, I don't like that. And you bring up all the negative things. So I think we are on that stage. It's like a football game. I thought when we started this football game that we will be more on the attacking side, scoring goals. But now I realize that most of the time we are just defending our own goal. We are defending the new technique. We are defending the changes. And too much energy goes to this. I mean, I have to say we have defended quite well. There are not many goals or critics that we haven't like just met. But we are not able to score goals. So I think we need more people that are outside the technical barrier, like people that can move the social aspect in the right direction. Put much more effort in that. It's not so much about, of course, I mean, it's different between the problems, but it's not as much about money and technique. It's about mindset of the people that have to change.
Yes, yeah, I totally. When I started working for Emir, I thought I was going to do some physical science or you know, but then we're doing social science all the time, and it's very good. I think it's a good realization to understand that this change it's primarily a social change. But maybe on the note, I mean you because it's also about finding something which is in common, and these areas, I think what they have in common is that they don't typically find things in common with the urban areas. So these are the rural, remote, and islanded communities. Maybe Dere, from the point of say these collaborations, can you say something about the importance of collaboration for these type of communities, maybe across countries and borders, and then maybe we can also dig a bit into, I mean, how, I mean, we are people from many organizations here today who have shared interests. I mean, we want to develop this type of cooperation.
Yes, I can definitely place
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, obviously. So my expertise specifically within this is definitely to facilitate the collaboration necessary among our islands and remote areas. And I will say, solving some of the challenges, one step ahead will be collaboration, and have these meetings, as we have here today, an opportunity to both share knowledge on successes and failures, and get to know each other's context and so. But I will also say, of course, collaboration is not the only solution, or it's not a solution necessarily itself, but it can be a step ahead in maybe developing projects together, or have joint efforts, developing maybe plans that are coherent, or where you can learn from each other. So that's really important. So definitely collaboration is interesting. And from my point of view, also working in general in the Nordic region, I really want to place an emphasis that when it comes to rural areas, it's essential to have the collaboration, because we really see that there are challenges here faced among a smaller amount of people in the areas, but we do see that they have unique challenges that are important to have conversations about and to solve together, compared to the Nordic region itself, where we have major cities, and so where you can kind of more find solutions that are, you can generalize. So this is quite unique as well. Yeah, I don't know.
Yes, yeah. Thank you. I think that's a very good point. Maybe because it's about energy, that's kind of the headline of the discussion, and issues with energy and energy infrastructure in these areas. Now, it's a vital infrastructure, Carlos. Now I'm looking at you now. So when we saw Michael Rossi gave us sort of crazy examples about cost. I mean, this is one thing. So and also, I mean, there is perhaps less capacity also rurally. Skúli, he showed us that, I mean, even in a country like Iceland, you have significant variance, say, in the oil consumption rurally. How does this influence sort of the justice perspective in this transition? Because we want to change a society. We want to. Can you? I know you have insight in this from your research. So yeah.
Yes, thank you for the question. But first of all, I want to say that I'm really relieved because I was assuming I would be totally out of scope, out of place here. I'm a social scientist. I was assuming all this was about technical discussions. And I was also assuming that the insights that I could bring that are more related with social issues, perceptions, fairness, and all that was essentially sort of an add-on to this discussion, but now I see that is the core discussion. And that essentially when we talk about these transitions, what we are talking about is mostly behavioral change and adoption of these technologies that exist for a long while already. So, of course, designing policies that are fit to sort of place-based and specific for the locations where these transitions are being proposed or designed is crucial. In particular, we should all be aware that not only the sort of behavioral aspects are differ between areas, but also perceptions regarding like framework conditions differ. So for example, 2 years ago, we developed a survey across the Nordic region asking people how far they would endorse the climate policies according to their perception on the fairness of those policies. And we realized that most people living in rural areas were less concerned about climate change than people living in cities to begin with, and more worried about the potential impacts of those climate policies on their communities. So this is a framework condition, a starting point for any discussion that should be acknowledged. And on top of that, you have the specificities of rural communities that are clearly different when it comes to warming conditions of normally larger houses, but also when it comes to longer like ranges of commuting or travel within their areas, and also normally different sort of climate conditions in some of the Nordic countries, since cities tend to be located more towards the south of the countries. So all these issues are important to take into account, into consideration when designing these policies and when implementing this, but always together with the communities, I would say.
Yes, thank you. Thank you very much. I think also, I mean, having heard about many of these say, different projects, there is like it seems to me there is a commonality somehow for successful projects. It's not only about the energy, it's not just about the megawatts, it's somehow about societal development as well. I mean, I thought there was a beautiful example from Åland that they talk about flourishing. I mean, how do you, so that is actually the center of the, well, obviously, sort of sustainability and development more, but it's a part of the energy agenda somehow to flourish. I know you can comment something on this, Michael, from Samsø. What can you say about the social benefits of change, or the societal benefit of energy change?
Well, in the projects that we have done on Samsø, we learned in the hard way that you have to talk about the why, like Alexis so fine said in his presentation, and to see the social benefits on what you are doing. And in many of these small rural societies, you have different roles. I'm a football coach, I'm a volunteer firefighter, I'm working at the Energy Academy, and I'm also a local politician. So you have these different roles in your society. So not only the energy advisor or the stupid politician that don't means that don't have the same opinion as I do. You're also picking up kids in kindergartens or rooting for the football team together. And this creates like a social platform for trusting each other. And I actually think that this is a very high benefit for these small rural communities, and you should start there to discuss what can this project or this effort put into back into the local society. Because, as you mentioned yourself, if you look out the window and look at the wind turbines, we realize that if you own them yourself or a part owner and have been a part of the placement of the wind turbines, all of a sudden they don't kill as many birds. They are not that ugly. They don't make the lights flicker and so on and so on. So that's a good approach.
Yes, yeah, that's and maybe on the note of because it somebody said, maybe it was Daniel, that the gold standard for that's community ownership, and that maybe also brings us to the point of participation and social inclusion. I think this is a topic that maybe we could elaborate a bit on. I think it's different, this context for societies. I mean, both in terms of say just the size and the capacity to invest. I mean, this is one, you need a certain mass. It's harder for very rural communities maybe to join forces simply because of sheer, physical densities or population densities. But this is somehow something we strive for. In Iceland, I mean, the energy system is really top down, and we've been sort of thinking, for example, in our work at Eimur, I mean, how can we start working with this community ownership in Iceland? Maybe it's an open question to the four of you.
Yeah, I mean, I can start because
yes.
In Samsø, I think they have this great approach to make everybody count, and I think the part of that success is that you started very early. I mean, the thing is that this will all be fine. We have all the technique and the solutions, and it will happen. But the thing is, it will happen in 50 years. So the problem is that we don't have the time. That's why we have to kind of find a way to put the pressure on speeding it up. And that's very difficult, because when you speed up, you start to push people, you push society. And then you create a defense army, because they don't want to be pushed. But the problem is we don't have the time to wait for everybody to go on board. And you see it in so many things. Like, I mean, when there is a flat tire on an EV, that means all EVs are crap. If old diesel car blows up, it was just that diesel car that was the problem. The rest is fine. Same for oil boilers. I mean, they break down. Oh, that was just a problem with that oil boiler. If a heat pump breaks down, heat pumps as a whole are crap. That's an example of like the defense that comes in you when you have to push. The thing is that we are running out of time, so I'm asking for a solution to go the Samsø way, so everybody can be friends and happy, and still make the process in time. Difficult question, Michael.
Yes, please
answer it.
Yeah.
Yeah, so one of the jobs that we also have is to go to citizens' meetings in other regions or other municipalities. And what we see many times is what you're mentioning, Higi, is that there's outside the door, there's protesters, we don't want wind turbines. And we stop and talk to them, and they say, we already have enough wind turbines here. If you look over here, there's a whole row of wind turbines, so we don't need any more. And why should we not just provide electricity for ourselves? Why should we be a part of the bigger system? And then I said to them, these wind turbines are not yours. This is another municipality. You have 0 wind turbines. In your municipality, where do you get your electricity from? So in these rural areas, many people are more pragmatic. So they can solve things, but many times I think that they should talk about what's in it for me. So can you solve another problem by using the green transition as a lifting stick for this? Make a foundation that can build a swimming pool or lower prices on the ferry tickets or something else. So you have to locate this burning platform in your local society and address this by saying, okay, maybe these wind turbines can solve this problem also, and thereby try to get in front of this mob that try to stop everything. I also have an example where the two first rows were also protesting against wind turbines. And when I asked them where they lived, they didn't even live in that municipality. They were just traveling around protesting against wind turbines. And then I asked the people attending, you are not saying anything. Should you not address these 20 people? You are 200 people here. 180 of you lives here. And if you don't say anything, these 20 people that don't even live here are going to set the standards on your municipality, the development on and implementation of renewable energy. So please stand up, because not saying anything is also to make a decision.
Yes,
Maybe
you want to, yeah?
Maybe I can not even try to answer that question, but add some sort of perspective from a more research angle. And I will start by sort of reversing the quote, the wonderful quote that you made this morning, Michael, about how change happens at the speed of trust. So reluctance happens at the speed of mistrust. And how to overcome that is extremely challenging, extremely tricky. It's all about communication and how to pass the right messages at the right time. I'm not an expert on that, but what I know is that these fairness-related issues are important. So if people perceive that the process and the outcome are fair, so that means distributional justice and recognition or procedural justice, then people will accept these things. But if they don't perceive this process as being fair not in abstract terms to society or to, in a global sense, but to their community, to their household, to their finances, unless that happens, they will not accept these processes easily. Actually, they will use these sort of, in reality, rather neutral processes, because we are talking about replacing one car by another car in most cases, against like the status quo or the political system, and we've seen a lot of that in the US lately. So these things are extremely important locally, but also globally. And we need to find a solution.
Yeah, I think there's one Icelandic secret that you maybe don't know, that we have great universities in Iceland, but the real knowledge in our country comes from the hot tubs in public swimming pools. And there are all these old guys, mainly guys, telling the whole truth and nothing but the truth. And it's sometimes difficult to respond to those strange views that come from that. Maybe it's the geothermal water that makes people dizzy, I don't know, but this is the real problem in Iceland.
Yeah, I can confirm. I was in the forest lagoon yesterday. I was a bit dizzy.
That
yeah, the dizziness, we experienced it.
Very strange views.
So I want to open up for questions from the audience. A couple of questions. While you think about the smart things, the smart questions to ask, maybe I want to another point on the cooperation. How do we continue? What are the next steps?
Exactly, that's also a really good question. And we could take it step by step, but by saying this, that based on at least my experiences, first step, now we have, for instance, I presented about the Net Zero Island Network. We have spent the last 5 years establishing a network. I know we should take COVID into consideration. Here it took around 2 years to have people meeting physically, but really importantly is to meet face by face to begin with, facilitate room, enough for conversations, bilateral conversations. It can be in a swimming pool, definitely, but it could also be in a proper room where you have papers and pens and can note things down. But there you actually gather and you try to understand what are the challenges we face and also the solutions. But having these rooms for discussions is important. And then when we understand each other's context, because as we know, no communities is similar in total. You share similarities, we are not we are not alike all the way through. When we understand each other, we can hopefully see how can we develop things together, for instance, through projects, through workshops where we do things together and try to see how we solve the challenges. But first, it will always be to meet physically and spend some time on actually understanding each other, definitely.
Great. Yeah, okay. Michael, you want to say more?
I really think that these CCAPs are a very, very good tool. They are not the whole solution, but if you have an overall plan that is agreed on and created by the local citizens, the stakeholders, and the decision makers or the politicians, then you don't have to start from zero every time you discuss something, because it adds up in this overall plan. So now you're only discussing the way there, and it's the same again. If you have people that don't like EVs or wind turbines, then they can say, okay, no to this, but then they will say yes to something else. Then they will say yes to very big photovoltaic parks or biogas or something else. So a non-choice is also a choice here. So I really think that these CCAPs is a really, really valuable tool as a dialogue to get a consensus on the solutions.
Thank you. And with these words, do you have any questions to our great panelists or to... Yes, there is a question. Please stand up and introduce yourself. It's not on? Hello? It's not on. Do you want to step here? And,
Does it need to go for the live stream?
yes,
Yes.
please. Doesn't harm.
Hello, hello. Hi, thanks for the panel and all of the speakers today. It was a really, really great day. My name's Jack Armitage. I just moved down the road to Laugar, and I'm starting a rural cultural institute hosting artist and scientist residencies. And my question is, so we've heard how this is being defined as a social issue and a problem rather than a technical one at this point. And from my perspective, artists and the cultural sector are the ones who know how to approach these topics in a sensitive and inclusive and also challenging and thought-provoking way. So I'd like to hear from any of you if you have experience collaborating with artists and in the cultural sector to try and unlock some of these problems that you're describing today, and what you think we could do more to work together on this topic. Thank you.
I think that artists are really a crucial part of this also. There are different cultural differences when you go all over the world. I have an example from Japan. It's not from my own experience, but some of my colleagues went there. And in Japan, it's always the highest ranking person in the room that asks the first questions. And if they're afraid to sound stupid, they will not ask a question. So you have to do something else because, or give them the questions beforehand. But what we did there was actually, they had this art of calligraphy, and they said, can you paint the green transition with Japanese calligraphy? And all of a sudden, everybody in the room participated in this. Ladies in white suits for several $1,000s were painting with black paint all over and throwing themselves into this. So I really think that art can do something in this also. We should not forget it. And I also want to add that I saw in the Åland the different representatives in the board. There was also a cultural and artistic participant, and I really took joy in that.
Yeah, I agree totally. We need everybody on board to push for it, and also not to have more different groups helping the course. It's also related to both rural areas and cooperation. One thing about the rural areas is that we are very few. So that means there are some guys like you working like me for 20 years, doing it and we'll soon be known as the energy clowns or whatever, and people slowly stop listening to great arguments. We always have great arguments. So it's sometimes very good to cooperate and get, like we say in Iceland, glöggt gestsaugað, or we only believe what others, our guest says. Because, I mean, I could tell people that they should bike instead of take a car, and people would just, him again. And then they would come and say, maybe you should bike. And I was like, whoa, what an idea. Coming from great Denmark. We should do that.
One more question? Or are you eager for... No, yes, okay. That's fine. I think so. We wanted to conclude today. Yes, earlier, our man in the spotlight. Here. You didn't expect this. So, while earlier prepares unexpected scene, I want to thank you, dear panelists, for the participation. There will be snacks and refreshments.
And wine?
Alcoholic afterwards. So please stick around if you, because I see you're all keeping your questions within, so you can discuss with us here. Stay a bit more on, yes. So,
Kom við. Nei, rúla bara.
Já, rúla bara.
Herru, mátt segja þetta svona bara, nei.
Today, all of the RECET partners are meeting here in Akureyri at a joint conference together with Net Zero Island Network. We are discussing the energy transition, and especially within rural communities and islands.
So here today we are the partners of the RECET projects. These are people representing 9 partners from 5 European countries. We all have the same goals. We want to assist our local communities in advancing the clean energy transition.
We are providing support and coordination among several partners across Europe to create a network of good practices and good stories to share with the world.
I think we need to share experiences on how we can accelerate the electrification of the transport sector. What we do can inspire other actors to make a difference.
What is fantastic with the RECET project is the diversity of partners from south to north.
It's a curious thing that we all share, and even though we're scattered across Europe, we're all kind of fighting these human challenges of pushing change.
Every one of us will come from very different places, but at the end, the challenges and the issues are almost the same anywhere.
The clean energy transition is not about technology at all. It's more about people and what people can accept as change.
We've learned how to use different tools in different settings, despite, for example, different types of weather and different local governance.
To accelerate the transition, basically we need pressure. Pressure from the citizens, from stakeholders, that we need a difference, we need different approaches, new solutions that can actually improve our quality of life.
The time for action is now, because climate change won't wait.
Yes, I wanted to thank Castor Media. They've been filming here today and yesterday and editing just outside. And I encourage locals and people from Iceland to book these guys. They're just professionals. So thank you so much. And please enjoy the refreshments at the bar.